Welcome, Antarmy. This is Tasmanian Takeover, Episode 2. I am Berto, and I'm joined by my co-host, JD. How are you, mate?
Good, Berto. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. You can see I've got the daggy, but very cool at the same time, JackJumpers Santa hat on, which
Looks
is
like high-quality merch.
Absolutely. But we may have to remove it just quietly because I'm tricking out our new fancy backgrounds.
We've been busy, haven't we? We've got the new logo, the new intro.
New intro, new logo, and thank you to yourself, mate. You've been getting very, very creative for us and stepping up the gear.
It's looking good. I'm very, very happy with where we're at.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm just having share issues. This is all we need straight off the bat. There we go. All right, so we're off to an absolute cracking start for Episode 2. This is Tasmanian Takeover, presented to you by The Basketball Fix, thebasketballfix.com, if you want to go and check them out. And this is part of a series of fan podcasts for each of the teams in the NBL. And it's probably a good opportunity to give a shout out to our fellow teams in the fact that launched last week was Hawks Hangout with a quality show that they put together and kind of been on the scene a little bit longer. You know, maybe they're a little bit decrepit now. I don't know. They seem to be losing their touch a bit, being the Wildcat Rap. They gave us a bit of shtick, but I'll tell you what, I'm starting to think they're just a little bit jealous of the new kid on the block. What do you reckon, mate?
They had a real fascination with us, didn't they? The Wildcat Rap. I counted at 5 different individual shout-outs in the last podcast, and I got to be honest, mate, I didn't know they had a podcast until they started shouting us out, so it was nice to hear from them.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, we're all jokes aside, they're doing a quality show as well. They're obviously been in the game a little longer, but if they thought they've got to be careful who they call out. I mean, I said a little meme in the group chat going on there, but Steve Austin was coming down the ramp. I mean, if they want to call Stone Cold out, we're willing to play. We're willing to play. All right, so we've got a lot to talk about. Obviously, it's been the Christmas bash or bashes or several matches. We'll talk all about that. Our Jackies are just absolutely on top. It's been phenomenal. Santa, there is a Santa Claus. That's all I can say.
Well, I did very well out of Santa this year. You can see I've got me gold logo on. Santa brought me a Jordan Crawford jersey. I know I give Teapot a bit of stick on the podcast, but I love him, and I'm so happy with my jersey. I've got a new cap as well. Look at that.
Oh, looking mint.
And then obviously the jolly man with the big belly delivered 2 wins as well. And when I say that, I mean Scott Roth.
Yeah, not me, mate. Not me. I didn't deliver any wins, but I'll certainly talk about him. Yeah, Snud. Roffy's just... Honestly, he's just fantastic. And look, I think we'll talk more about it a little bit later in the show, but I think he's really found the perfect config. And given the fact that we are dealing with adversity yet again with injury, I think the fact that we were able to pull 2 massive wins, and yeah, look, they were hard-fought battles, and we will get into more of the details of it, but it was really nice to see that even with our mags, no confidence was lost, next man mentality, and away we go.
I got to be honest, I was ready to throw in the towel for the season when I heard about Magnay's toe. I thought, how are we going to replace him? But the boys have just pulled together, haven't they? They've looked outstanding. I wouldn't say we've thrived without him. We definitely miss him. But it's been a team effort to pull together a couple of wins in a bit of adversity.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, well, before we get into the show, a little bit of housekeeping here, because this is like suddenly all official, mate, but we want to give a huge shout out to a DJ over in Italy, Sandrix, who you might have noticed that our new intro has got a bit of a pumping tune behind it, the old Ants Go Marching remix that he put together. And if you've ever gone to a JackJumpers game, you might recognize the tune playing in the pre-game shenanigans that go on. I believe they kicked that off just before they do the countdown and lights out. So it's sort of, I know every time I hear it, I get those excited chills coming up. And I thought, what better track to sit there and put on the show's intro? So we reached out to Sandrix. asked him would he mind letting a couple of passionate Jackies fans, tart up their podcast a little bit with a nice pump and tune, and he was all for it. So thank you very much, man. Please, all the links will be put up with the podcast on the socials and the like. Go and check out his stuff. Some of the remixes he's got online are fantastic. And I suppose another piece of housekeeping, you've got Fringe Festival coming up, JD.
I do. So January and February is Perth Fringe Festival. Me and a couple of old military mates have a show called Tropic Blunder, where basically there's me, there's an army comedian, there's an Air Force comedian, and we just take the piss out of each other after doing a few jokes. So that's it's sold out last Fringe. So we're hoping, and it's one of the venues is already sold out, is already half sold out as of today, and we've still got over a month to go until it starts. So tickets are going, and if you're listening, I'd love to see you there.
Awesome. Well, that already sounds hilarious. You get the three different defense forces in there, and the jokes have to be flown because there's plenty of jokes I'm sure we've all made about the defense forces. Please don't come after us. Please protect me. But
nothing I haven't said myself. Don't worry.
All right. Well, let's get into things. And look, it's no secret. Big Will out with his toe. Did his little toe in practice, fractured toe. Apparently he was running around on it, felt a bit of pain. And at the end of the practice, got it all checked out or whatever happened. Obviously I wasn't a fly on the wall, but this is, looking at the reports, and we've lost the big man for 6 to 8 weeks. But I suppose we've got the privilege on this show in the fact that we've at least seen how the team has responded in two great games. So I suppose the question is, JD, we have had two great, look, they haven't been runaway wins, but they have been solid wins that have really shown that the team can come together. Mm-hmm. But it's no secret we also have a reasonably, I won't say difficult or challenging schedule, but we're not coming up against, bottom ladder type teams. We've got the Bullets next. Then I think we've actually got somewhere along the line Southeast Phoenix. I know we've got the Sydney Kings coming up because I'm going to be up in Sydney for that game. How do you think we're going to go with those teams?
Well, like you said, it's been really interesting to watch how we've coped. We've gone with a team attack. I noticed the big guys we've come up against. We've sort of double tagged them. We've sort of had Fabs at the front and Majuk Deng coming over the back. I noticed. That's great, but obviously not ideal using two players to defend one. It means someone's running out there without a man at some point. But to this point, it's worked. We've looked solid. I'd say the big men we've come up against have sort of got away from us at times in the last two games. But when it really mattered, the boys have really shut them down in the last quarter, and you haven't really noticed the big guys in Taco, and obviously we'll talk about Rob Lowe a little bit later.
Won't we? You're absolutely right. And I think that really comes from the fact that we've been here before. I mean, when you think about it, particularly the first two seasons, we basically made it through to championship and to the finals without Magnay. Yeah. And so, and Roth will quite regularly say this, we did it with Fabs. Yep. So I think, this is not foreign to the team, but I think we've got a couple extra punches there now. We do have Deng, and I think Deng really adds that quick ability to switch from the 4 to the 5 really quick and sort of, as you say, almost coming over the top if need be. Yeah. And we saw that a couple of times in the New Zealand game. And I think Fab is a big body. And I mean, what's really good at the moment is his shooting is off. He certainly is. His shooting is off. Whatever's going on, he's going for a bit of a slump there. But as a defensive body, he's certainly adding that value to the team. Yeah. All right. So thinking about this a little bit further, we've also got another body and he showed some potential. How'd you find the Hummer?
Oh my man, he showed a bit. He definitely contributed. He hasn't played a lot of minutes. I think he played most of the first quarter on Christmas, and then maybe came back on the ground a couple of times.
Yeah,
After
total
that,
of about just shy of 9 minutes across the 2 games.
Right. So Scott Roth mentioned that he's come in after a break and he's a bit out of he's probably not quite match fit. But we sort of saw enough to suggest that he's going to be a very important piece of the puzzle once he does get a few beep tests under his belt.
Absolutely agree. I mean, just his stats alone, in the Melbourne game, 2 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. New Zealand game, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Okay, so he's not coming on and being an offensive powerhouse, but I'll tell you what, across 9 minutes, that's pretty decent on the defensive side of things, and probably what we really need at the moment, given the fact that we are down. And as you say, if we're going to have 2 players basically fill in the spot of one, having that extra person there as that defensive weapon, I think is really important.
And what I noticed is, okay, so the numbers aren't jumping off the stat sheet, but he was creating space and he was creating opportunities. There was I think the 2-pointer that he did get, he turned one way and then he turned the other way and completely wrong-footed whoever he was on. So there's a bit there to like, I think, once he gets up and running.
Absolutely. I probably should say too, we're going to try introducing some new titles throughout the show as well. So this is all, we're just talking general news at the moment. This is what we're calling Nest on Notice. So you guys are all part of this extended nest. So if there's anything you'd like to hear us talk about or whatever else, do reach out to the Basketball Fix, one of the socials, particularly if you see one of our posts, and leave a comment or a question or whatever else. And JD and I will pretend to sound like we know what we're talking about and see if we can't answer it. All right. I want to say sad news, but I don't know. I'm going to be very careful how I pick my words here because I don't want to land anyone in trouble. Scott Roth sanctioned. So during the Melbourne United game, you could actually see it on the TV screen. Roth going off at the refs. Now, there's been some speculation, I will say. Probably not very hard to speculate when it was quite easy to read his lips and also hear parts of it that didn't cut out on the mic. He had a few curt words to say, should I say, to the refs, and that's resulted in a $1,000 fine. Firstly, really? I mean, just pass the cap around down here at Tassie, we'll cover it all. I reckon if everyone threw in $2 for the everyone's favourite coach, we'll have that 1,000 and more.
I reckon we set up a GoFundMe, Birdo, and
yeah.
we got this one, Rothy. You've done enough.
I reckon so. Plus, I mean, come on, look, Roth can get a little fiery sometimes. He's certainly not up there with a Chase Buford and kicking screens and whatever else.
Right.
Sorry, Chase, we've all still got PTSD over that one. But he's passionate. He's passionate. So I reckon they might have a bit of a slush fund here and there just for any time he does flip his lid a little bit. What do you reckon?
Well, it does seem a bit ridiculous. I did do a bit of lip reading, and I
here
watched
we
it
go.
pretty intently. And from what I saw, he turned around and he called the umpire a cotton-headed ninny muggins. He'd obviously been watching the movie Elf with Will Ferrell, so you know, no one likes.
You've been sitting on that all Christmas, haven't you, mate? All right, so. Roth has been sanctioned. I'm sure we'll just pay the $1,000 fine and be done with it. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to comment, but it did feel like there were a few extra calls that were maybe not really fair. But then again, I also like to sit there and say there's always a level of bias when you're watching a game. And look, the refs do have a hard time I'm not going to sit here and be an absolute, die hard for the refs and whatever else. I mean, I'm just as much a fan and sit back and go, nah, bugger it, that's a bad call, whatever else. But I mean, the game's fast enough as it is. I know they're meant to be professionals, but you're going to make some good calls. You're going to make some bad calls, and we'll leave the rest to the court.
One thing I did notice about the Melbourne Tasmania game, and maybe this will flow into our review of the Melbourne United game, it was a physical match. There was two teams out there just beating each other up. So I think there was probably a few missed calls both ways. Probably especially against the JackJumpers, because this is a JackJumper podcast.
Absolutely. Which that's a beautiful segue there, mate. Straight into Ant Attack, which is our section of the show where we're going to look at the review of past games and look to the future of the games coming up and give our little commentary on it. And you're absolutely right. Let's get right into the Melbourne United game, where we took down Melbourne United 91-97. Beautiful. They had the return of Chris Goulding and Marcus Lee. We were obviously without Magnay and unfortunately without Captain Clint Steindl for a large portion of the game due to what looked like a bit of an ankle roll or something like that.
Didn't that look nasty?
It looked painful.
Get up and keep playing was just incredible from brother Clint.
Oh, absolutely. Look, he looked like it really hurt, and he still wanted to get amongst it, which was, my hat goes off to him. I liked the fact that they didn't push it too hard. The fact that, we did have the game coming up on Christmas Day. And even then in the Christmas Day game, I mean, what did he get? Something like, what was it? It was a good 15 minutes nearly, I think it was.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think he hit a couple of threes in that time as well.
Yeah, it was just shy of 15 minutes he ended up getting. So, that's not too bad. But he did a few times, you could see it. He was really wincing a little bit. So I hope he's all right. I hope the bit of a gap, what have we got, about four days between that game and Brisbane Bullets. So hopefully he gets to sort of rest it up a little bit, put a bit of ice on there, strap it, and he's back to it. But you did say it was a physical game, and didn't it get physical between Lowe and Drimmick?
The doctor needed a doctor in the end.
Do you reckon he was really injured, or do you reckon he sold it a little bit?
Look, I saw the comments from some of the Melbourne supporters and some of the JackJumpers haters saying that he flopped. What I would say against that is you stand under a guy who's 6'11" and cop an elbow to the back of the head and see how you flop.
Exactly right. Look, even if he did sell it a bit, I mean, at the end of the day, there's no reason to sit there and elbow a guy. And a few of the comments I saw online, Drimmick was trash talking, or Drimmick was baiting him. I'm sorry, ever since I was a wee squirt, the first thing you do is learn the trash talk on the basketball court. That's where I learned some of my best trash talking. So, no. I'm sorry, it's a professional sport. If you can't get out there and have a bit of a trash talk and G each other up, and you're going to retaliate by putting your elbow into someone's head, that's just not on.
Yeah.
So, Lowe's been, it looks like Lowe's going for either a one-game suspension or a $1,550 fine with an early plea. Haven't heard whether United have accepted the appeal or the decision, so
it was only going to be $500, but he called Drimmick a cotton-headed Denny Muggins on his way off the court, so that was what that extra $1,000 was for.
I want to fine you $1,000 for that. All right, and we didn't get an open roof.
Yeah, I think that probably helped the JackJumpers in the end.
And I wondered what you thought about that, because I'm sitting there thinking, it would have been a different environment for them, and the fact that they sort of, now it would have just been a normal day, a normal outing at John Cain Arena, to be honest. So, I do wonder if it helped a little bit.
So we've won 9 of 11 games at John Cain Arena. Now I saw Look, if Melbourne United want to merge and bring their money down to the island, we'd happily sell a game or two to.
No. I'm sorry, but no. Southeast Melbourne, I might play. But Melbourne United, no.
You can just hear Andrew Gaze rolling in his grave at me, even suggesting that, can't you?
I have to say, did Gazy actually have some nice things to say about the Tasmanian JackJumpers during the New Zealand game? I mean, look, don't get me wrong. Gazy is the great man, but I suspect he's not a huge JackJumpers fan.
No, never has been.
All right. In that game, TeRangi, your man.
Oh.
Ruben went off.
Can I ask a question? So, can you tell me who you think the next captain of the JackJumpers is? And can you also tell me why it's going to be Ruben TeRangi? He is a superstar.
I am going to say, though, I'm going to be controversial here and say you're suffering from recency effect.
Maybe I don't. That doesn't sound
out of the
at
season
all,
so far. Look, don't get me wrong. When the season started, he came on and I thought, oh, excellent pickup. Then there have been a number of games where limited minutes, not playing, I think, to what his full potential is. Something has happened in the last few weeks. He's either found the mojo or they've found the magic configuration for him, whatever it is. And to be honest with you, I don't care how the sausage is made. We've got a very tasty sausage here. And the way he came out in Melbourne, 15 points, 5 rebounds, one assist. New Zealand, 12 points, 3 rebounds, and 1 steal. I mean, come on now. That's fantastic numbers. He just seemed to be everywhere, including up in PJC's face.
Yeah, absolutely. Ruben the Terror TeRangi, we're calling him, aren't we? He do you know what? And I actually, whether he gets fined or whether he gets a match or whatever he gets for his blatant shove of the little pipsqueak from New Zealand. You love to see it. He was standing up for his teammate. PJC was all over Deng for whatever reason. I do wonder. I suppose we'll probably talk about this in the New Zealand game, but I do wonder how you hip and shoulder an umpire and end up with the ball. It was an interesting turn of events.
Yeah, look, I'm still at a loss trying to work out the fouls and who got what. Either way, though, what I would say is it was sorted out well.
Yep.
PJC, I'm not going to get into who was the instigator or not. It's really hard to say. PJC was going Deng. Ruben's giving him a push. PJC's ready to go to world. Fine.
Yep.
I get it. He's fiery. He's managed to, as you said, hip and shoulder a ref. That's a no-go. And he was not backing down. Like, at no point was he going to back down. He was out for blood. Yep. So I suspect PJC is going to potentially, I mean, it's gone to the game review tribunal, so I suspect he's going to be in a little bit of strife. We may get some kind of penalty, maybe a slap on the wrist or whatever else, because Ruben did push and it's clear. The social media judges are all getting on there saying, Ruben did more than a push and that. Look, I didn't see that. And in all the screenshots and that where they've got stills, it looks like a straight just like push, like get off my mate, which you see that in just about every game. Come about third or fourth quarter, they all get a little bit pushy, shovey, whatever, so be it. But
Ruben's probably got, 20, 30 kilos on him. So he's going to fly when you do get any sort of body on PJC, but...
Yeah, exactly right. Look, what I will say is much like the Melbourne game, it was you could tell it was quite chirpy, the New Zealand game. And apparently, like the commentators did say that PJC and JC were getting at it quite a bit. So, look.
Love to see it.
I can't complain.
At each other.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, I would have liked them just to, everyone just separate to two little ones square off a little bit. Could have been a bit interesting. Probably not ideal for broadcast, but, why not? Come for a fight, see a basketball game break out. All right. Speaking of JC, he really dominated these last two games. Coming out as our player of the game for both the Melbourne and the New Zealand game, we got 16 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists in the Melbourne, and 26 points, 4 assists, 2 steals. Mate, Teapot's ready to blow.
Isn't he all steamed up? We love it.
Actually, I don't think I've seen him this fired up since last season.
Yep. I've decided to buy one of his jerseys every week for the rest of the season, just in case that's what tipped it over. He has been absolutely explosive. Absolutely. And we touched on it a bit last week with again, we got to give Scott Roth some credit here. He read the tea leaves. He's got Shawnee Mack starting. He's got Jordan Crawford coming in for impact. And hasn't it worked? It's just absolutely incredible to watch.
And look, credit to Roth, credit to JC as well. I mean, my understanding is JC has been a starting 5 player for, if not all, best part of his career. And to come on down to the little old island and be told, hey, we're going to try something different here. You're coming off the bench. I think that also shows his character and the fact that he's definitely in this for the team and not for himself. So I love the bloke. I think he's fantastic. He was great last season. This season, he's going off. And what I do love is there's a lot of look, you get a lot of commentary about how, JC's going off, but then Milt doesn't. Milt's going off and JC doesn't. But you know what I do love? It's like they're so in sync that if one of them's really on a high scoring end, the other is the playmaker, doing things behind the scenes, spreading the team, getting around, really making spaces. I love that. I love the fact that they're almost in that level of sync. So I'm cool if they're both not firing like bloody machine guns. It doesn't worry me.
Yeah. No, totally agree. We'll talk about Milton a little bit later in the show, but just I've been having a look at the stats and one of the things that has really corresponded with our sort of our rise up the table is the amount of assists we've been getting. The one stat that really shows out is the constant rise in assists week to week, which tells me we are working a lot better as a team to the early the early rounds. And I think this is we're playing a bit more predictable. We know where we're going to be. And I think players like JC and Majuk Deng and these kind of X factor guys have really benefited from maybe a more predictable style of play than what we were playing early in the season.
Absolutely. And I mean, Deng, you mentioned it. He's absolutely been a weapon in these last couple of games. In the New Zealand game alone, we're sitting at 20 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. He is really showing himself to be a Stanley knife on both offense and defense.
I don't know if he's a listener of the podcast. He was our player to watch last week. So maybe he heard what we had to say and he was like, "You're right, boys. Time to pull my finger out and just dominate for a couple of games." We've loved seeing his knees up around the rim like we are.
I love his hang time. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Knees up around the ears, fantastic. He's got a fantastic hang style. I love it. All right. One thing I will say is we've talked a lot of positiveness about or positivity, if I get my English right. Look, it's on the back of Christmas. We'll just let all this slide. But we still saw elements of our third quarter woes. I won't say that like neither game, the third quarter didn't get away from us, but I would say it was the third quarter that had us on the edge of our seats. Would you agree?
Yeah, you can sort of see it. They definitely gave New Zealand and Melbourne a bit of a sniff in the third, and we thought, oh, here we go. We're letting them back in like we were in the early rounds. To their credit, it seemed like they were just having a bit of a rest till the fourth quarter came up when they went back to the JackJumpers of old.
Yeah. And look, I'm glad that it's not our kryptonite anymore. It's certainly, it's almost like, turning around the Superman going, no, I got some.
Yep.
But we seem to be able to get on track, which is fantastic. I'll tell you what has helped us keep on track, and we haven't spoken enough about him this episode, but that is Gak. GG absolutely proving himself as our next big man on the court without Magnay. Melbourne, we had 9 points, 2 rebounds. New Zealand, 8 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. I haven't got the total number of minutes he's played, but he just seemed to be, when he was on the court, it was real effective minutes.
100%. I'm gonna call my next born child Gorjok, I think, but male or female, I don't mind. But I love what he's doing. He's actually going at 100% 3-point conversion at the moment. He's only had 3 shots, but they've all gone in. So he looks outstanding. He looks really, really good.
You can't complain with those stats. And yeah, he is looking good. Sometimes it takes adversity to sort of get your opportunity to step up and shine. And I think, having Magnay come off at the moment is going to give him an opportunity to go, yeah, I deserve to be here. This is my space. So, yeah, good on you, GG. I look forward to seeing more development from him and seeing him 100%. Really come out heads and shoulders above.
Yeah, no, really liking what I'm saying.
All right, now to wrap up this little section, we probably should look forward, and we've got the Brisbane Bullets on the 29th at MyState. Now, where are we? The Brisbane Bullets are, 5th on the ladder, so they're just behind us because we've slipped into a nice sneaky 4th place at the moment. As I commented at last episode, I don't pay much mind to the ladder, particularly at the moment, because there's a lot of shifting. All it takes is a game here or there either side of your game, and you can move a position on 2. But it is nice to see that we're in that top 6. The Bullets are biting at our heels. Now, we've pretty well had their number each time we've played them. We've played them both home and away. We've won both games. We beat them in round 6 and round 9. And now here we are coming up to the current round, and we're at home. How do you reckon it's going to go, mate?
They've been playing some good basketball. They've won 4 of their last 5, the Bullets, and they've got some real X factor. One of whom we actually gifted to them on a silver platter in Isaac White.
Hasn't he stepped up?
He was outstanding last game. He was absolutely everywhere. It's going to be the battle of the development players in Shawnee Mack and Isaac White.
Ooh.
Yeah. I can't wait to see the matchup and see if we're justified. Well, I think we all know that we're justified in what Shawnee Mack's been able to do, but Isaac White has been very impressive.
Oh, just thinking about that, I reckon that's going to. I hadn't even given that much thought, but that's actually going to be something to watch. I reckon Iceman versus Shawnee Mack. I like it. Okay. You heard it here first, Santami. Make sure you come back and comment if you think we were on the money or whether we're just talking out our ass, because I reckon that's going to be a showdown to watch just quietly. Online, they've got Shawnee Mack and Casey Praver, but yeah, I think that's a solid matchup, but I reckon there's a dark horse there in Iceman.
Absolutely. I think we go with the same strategy against. I'm calling him Rocco, poor man's Magnay Zakarski, and I think we just go with what's working. Fabs, Deng, and Gak just double teaming him and trying to keep him away from the rim as much as we can, a bit like we did with Taco.
Yeah, and look, the one thing I'll give Rocco is he seems to be a little more athletic than Taco.
Yep.
Taco's
Yep.
got pure size. I mean, I don't think he even needs to jump to put the ball in the hoop, does he?
Well, no. We were watching it on Christmas Day, and my partner looked at me and she goes, "That Taco, when he dunks, he just looks like he's hanging out the washing."
I like that. That's a very good analogy. I like it. All right, who you got? Us or them?
Look, it's at the Nest. So Rocco's not only going to have Fabs, Gorjok, and Deng on him, he's also going to have the Ant Army on top of him. I think if we can really get that defensive squeeze going, shut down Prather, shut down White, I think I'm quite confident going into this one.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm feeling the same. I'm thinking at home, we've already had their number twice, home and away, so why not take it for a clean sweep this season?
Absolutely.
All right, well, that brings us to the more fun side of the podcast. Not that this hasn't been fun, but talking about the things that go around in the community and more. And we're calling this one Ant Army Antics. And something that we're both very passionate about at the moment is the fact that the Performance Centre that the JJs have been wanting for like 3 seasons looks to be going ahead. And I've actually got the privilege of actually living not too far from where they're going to be erecting said box. And early scoop, there's been some movement down there.
Really? We've got earthworks have started?
Not earthworks, but what used to be in that space was what looked like an outdoor RC racing track.
That's right.
The tower thing that was there is well and truly being knocked down at the moment. So it's compared to how it was a few weeks ago, either someone's knocked it down or it was that dilapidated. The wind knocked it down, but one way or another, it's only half as high as it once was. So it started. It doesn't look like, I don't know where they are as far as all the notification the council has to give and all that sort of jazz. I'm not even going to pretend to know anything about that. There's no heavy machinery in there yet, but it certainly looks like they're doing whatever they can without doing too much.
We won a championship basically training out of a tin shed in Kingston. It's just mind blowing to think of what the JackJumpers have achieved with such I guess not dilapidated facilities, but they're a step behind on their preparation against all the other teams in the league. Basically, this is going to be huge, not only for the JackJumpers but for the community. Itself.
Absolutely. It's going to be phenomenal. If I have one complaint, just one small complaint, that is apparently they're going to put a JackJumpers store inside it. And being that it's only a couple of minutes down the road from where I live, my bank balance is already really sad.
Gee, we're going to need a sponsor on this podcast pretty quickly, I would say, to fund
I reckon so.
Birdo's spending habits at the JackJumpers store.
Exactly. All right. It is that time of year too, Christmas holidays, probably looking for something to do with the kids. And if you are down here in Tassie, and I'd like to hope that most of our listeners are down in Tassie, the school holiday camps that the JackJumpers run are up and running. There may still be a few spots available. Go and check them out. Look, the reason why I added this to the run sheet tonight was because my kids have been to them and they are really excellent. The kids walk away with a basketball, JackJumpers basketball, which is always nice. It's sponsored by Banjos, so they get a belly full of sausage rolls and little party pies and whatever else, which is fantastic. And they have a great time. Taking a look at some of the dates, I highly doubt there'd be too many main roster JackJumpers that would be there. You might get a few of the DPs of that who are left behind when they're on the road. Some of the dates, I know one of the dates straight up would conflict with New Zealand game over at Spark. But, they're really well running. If you're looking for something to do with the kids, Highly recommend it if you can find space. So, yeah, check those out. In and around the place, of course, we've been keeping our eye on our man, Mr. Jack McVeigh, who has the GOAT. Absolutely the GOAT. And look, whilst he hasn't been getting a lot of game time over in the NBA for the Rockets, he is part of the starting five in the G League for the Rio Grande Valley Vipers. So at time of writing this, and there may have been an extra game played that I've missed. So if I have, don't come at me. You know, it's been Christmas and all that. 3 games, 27.3 minutes to be exact. Averaging 10 points, 4.7 rebounds, 1.7 assists. He's pulling nice numbers in the G League.
He's outstanding, and you can just imagine the cultural effect he's having on that team with his almost cult-like positivity that he has going at times. I should watch more. I should watch more of him because, and I don't know if you saw on the Christmas Day vision, there was 3 members of the JackJumpers in the crowd with Houston Rockets jerseys on. Do you know?
Number 58.
Do you know how he got the number 58?
Added all the jersey numbers he's worn up.
Apparently, it was his partner's suggestion. She said, "Why don't you add all of the jersey numbers you've ever worn up? You get 58." I'm glad he's as good a player as he is, because if it was me, that'd basically be 4 or 5 99s to add up. But yeah, outstanding.
Yeah,
one thing you should look out for if you like hearing from Jack McVeigh, the JackJumpers have a thing called the Fan Hub, which I stumbled across the other day. If you sign up, you can actually receive I think it's weekly videos from Jack, just commenting on the game and what's going on and seeing what he's up to. So we'll put a link in the fan in the show notes, but it's basically fanhub.jackjumpers.com.au. Sign up. There's a whole heap of bonus content, and it's really good. I learned that Majuk Deng's favorite thing to do during the week is to go down to Blackman's Bay Beach and have a lie on the rocks. That
sounds like a bloody good way to spend the day, I reckon, just quietly. No, it is fantastic content on there. Absolutely free to sign up. So if you're a Jackies fan, and of course you would be if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you get amongst it. All right, to wrap up the show, something that's not entirely JackJumpers related, but certainly NBL related. I just thought it was a nice way to end the show. The Brisbane Bullets, during one of their Christmas games, turned around and did a teddy bear toss. So everyone in the audience would just throw all these teddy bears onto the court, and they swept them all up and gave the teddy bears away to charity for kids in need and whatever else. So I just thought that was a bit nice on the heart. And thought that was fantastic. And to watch the footage of it online, all these teddy bears being thrown on the court, absolutely fantastic. So look, I know, like, we had the auctions for the jerseys, which is fantastic. It's just lovely to see that, you know, we're not only running the sports over Christmas, but we're also getting behind the charities and helping them out. So massive kudos to the NBL and to the Brisbane Bullets for organising that one, and to all the teams that have supported charities during Christmas. Well, mate, I think that takes us to the end of another episode 2 in the bag. Looking forward to the Brisbane Bullets game on the 29th, and then catching up with you next week to talk all about it, JD.
Absolutely. Hopefully this one stood up to the Wildcat Rap lofty standards. If you are looking for a podcast that was relevant 5 years ago, head over to their show. It's actually a really, really good show. They do a good job, the boys in red.
Absolutely. And speaking of the other boys in red, we'll go to Hawks Hangout. Make sure you check those out as well. Those guys are kicking off. And I believe in the coming weeks, we'll also have King's Table up and running, New Zealand Breakers show, and, of course, catch all the other podcasts that are on the Basketball Fix. Well, that's it for another episode. This is Tasmanian Takeover, over and out. Catch you next week.
See you next week.